Once upon a skein, there was a crocheter who wanted to make some beautiful bouquets for spring. But she hated the colors of yarn at the craft store, so she painted her own. This is the tale of the painted bouquets. Welcome to the very, very experimental part of this video. I have never, ever painted on crochet fabric in my life. I've always thought about it because it seems like something that could be fun for me. I do really enjoy many parts of the arts. I do really enjoy trying new things and mixing mediums. When I was in high school, I used to do all kinds of projects where I would mix pastels with acrylics, crayon with ink. I was doing a lot of that in high school, and anytime I took an art class, I was always pushing the limits on the project parameters, which some teachers loved and some teachers groaned at because I think they just wanted it to be a simple project, but I don't know, I guess I was always meant to be extra with my crafting. So here I am being extra. So you're gonna see me try a couple of things. The first swatch I'm doing it on is the Bambootiful. And now the second swatch I'm working on is the first yarn choice, the one that I hope to be using. The stitch definition is just beautiful on this, as you can tell. And I really do love seeing how the paint and water interacts with the fabric. It is actually very fascinating to me. Honestly, if my mom let me, I probably would have tried to paint my clothes when I was a kid because, I mean, look how it absorbs it. It's so interesting. And these are both plant fiber-based yarns. As you saw in the intro, Bambootiful is more of a bamboo blend, and then this one, Patton's Grace, is a mercerized cotton. I was nervous that the cotton one was going to be my problem child, even though it's the one I like the most, because I was worried that it was going to repel the water and not absorb anything. But I think it's doing a good job so far. So the next thing that we have to do after this, and I say we, me, is I have to be patient and wait for everything to dry, which is not the easiest thing for me, but giving you a little close-up here, you can see that it has saturated the fabric a good amount. The Bambootiful, it was a little more, how do I call this, blown out. It's not as sharp in color as the other one. And then flipped over, there was a little bleed on one side, of that, but not on the other. But here we are, the next day. I did fast forward for you. We have the dried results. So you're gonna see my mouth move because I'm talking myself through what I want to say and remember for this project, but listen to the words coming out of the voiceover. So here's the Beyond Beautiful. Again, the colors remained more pastel, and that's okay because it's spring flowers, but there's nothing on the back, which meant that I would have to do double work in painting my flowers. So there's that version with that first swatch. The second swatch, and the swatch I just love, is the Patton's Grace. Oh, there's my camera, focusing when it wants to. This is just lovely though. I'm so obsessed with this. And it's worked. The experiment is a success as far as the painting portion. I wanted to try it on a swatch before I obviously made the petals, because clearly this is something that is going to be, you can't reverse the painting in terms of our flower petals here. So I am very happy to see this result be positive, and I hope you take a chance and do your own type of painting in the future, because it is actually really satisfying. I can't wait to paint the flowers now. So I'm going to take my cotton one and move on to the next step, which is the crocheting. Yay! Okay, folks, let's take a little crochet break and take care of these vases. So there are 4 of these, as you can see. Per the suggestion of the sales associate at the craft store, they recommended that we have these sanded before adding any kind of paint, whether it's spray or brushed paint. So I thought that was a great idea. I'm going to pull these out and do just that. I really do love the difference in each shape, and I am going to do my best to try to match them to each type of flower that I'm putting in the vases. So the sandpaper I'm using is just something I grabbed from my dad's garage. This is a 120 grit sandpaper. Pretty rough and coarse, so it does get the job done. There is quite the shiny exterior to these vases. And like I said in my caption in the intro, it's giving like Xenon Girl of the 21st Century vibes with the color, and I did not want that. These need to be classic, beautiful flower vases, timeless, match any decor type of vases. So here we go. I am sanding away. The hardest parts were these like concave and kind of rounded parts, and my hands were getting so gross. So once I sanded everything down, gave everything a once-over wipe with some microfiber towel. Oh, there's my baby sister, Jasmine. Hey, girl. She's actually getting one of these vases. She's getting the rose vase. All wiped down. We're going to gather them in our box to carry outside. And we are going to enjoy the chilly weather as we do it. You're going to see me with my little Sherpa coat. Spray paint, can't forget that. That's important. It's literally the point of this. And let's go outside on the deck. It's actually really sunny today, so I was grateful it stopped raining. I'm shaking that thing up. This is what the first coat kind of looked like, and it's all right, but you could see where I put my hands on it. And then we're fast forwarding to this beautiful finished piece here. The paint really did have the desired effect that I wanted. Now, I didn't spray paint the very bottoms because I just thought, what's the point? I'm not selling these. These are just for me. These are just for family and friends. And with all of these done, let's move on to the next bit of the process. Wow, look at all these ends. There was a lot of ends to weave in for all of these pieces. So everything was split up into 4 bags according to the types of flowers. I have my water here. I got my paintbrush, and I am ready to enjoy this painting process, or so I thought. Unfortunately for me, I ran out of time before my deadline to truly enjoy this process. I was very much rushing. You are going to see me separate here the green pieces from the white pieces and then pull 1 flower stem's amount of white petals away. But first I get started here with the flower buds, then I move on to the bells of the lily of the valley. That's the first flower I'm painting because to me this has the most pieces, so I wanted to just knock the big one out of the park. And then we have the stamen, which I believe I'm tackling the stamen first. So I tried first dunking them in water and then kind of pinching out the excess to get started. When I painted those swatches earlier, I did a little bit of seeing like what worked better, whether that be trying to get the piece wet first and then adding the color with the paint, or just painting it dry. And I think they both work fine. I think it's going to be a matter of how saturated do you want them. And here are all of those stamen for the tulips finished. Some yellower than others, but that's okay. And here I am dunking that little bud in water, which I gotta clean that water soon. It's looking a little cloudy. And here are some of these bell pieces all finished here. I am speeding through this process because there's a lot to cover, but here is a part of the pansies. So some of them are going to be white, some of these pieces, some of them are going to be one flat color. These were actually the easiest ones to paint. Something to keep in mind, do not paint your tails. If you like this, just weave in your ends and use a new fresh piece of already dyed yellow yarn, whether it's embroidery floss or fingering weight yarn to sew, because I fully regret that. I didn't mention that later in the video in my recap, but I'm saying it here now. And here I am organizing my tulips pieces because there are the big petals and the small petals, and then we have these lovely stamen. And here they are all finished. I really do love the ombre of the purple to teal. I thought that was really pretty. And the white to teal is also pretty as well. These roses were the last things for me to paint, and they were super tangled because I really needed a long tail to sew them together, and I left those unpainted so I could have an easy process here. But here is one done in peach color. I'm gonna say that's like a peach. And the pink one kind of shows my technique a little bit better. I left the edges white so that they had more of an ombre painterly effect. Now let's take our wiring, stem wire, and our hot glue gun, and let's assemble these flowers and see what we come up with. Wish me luck. Okay, let's gather our materials and let's do a little bit of finishing in this project here. So as you can see, I'm lining up my vases, and I got the idea from my mom to just add a little extra touch of whimsy with a little bit of a stringed bow on the outside of the vases. So that's what I've done to all 4 of them now. I have added them in various spaces, and I think it looks really cute. Simple. Sometimes simple is best. And then you're gonna see me pour out what I stuffed into one of these vases, and I'm gonna explain what I did here with just this one arrangement. So I'm taking my polyfill and I'm stuffing it into the vase, because when I first put the flowers in the vase with nothing in it, they were sliding all over the place. The wire makes these incredibly heavy. As in terms of flowers, I should say. You know, obviously I'm able to work with it. It's not that heavy, but they are quite heavy, and they don't really stand upright as if they were, you know, placed and arranged in a normal vase as flowers would be. So the generous helping of polyfill that I'm adding is just going to anchor them and to give them a little structure on the inside, kind of like when flower arrangers, florists use foam for some of their bigger arrangements. It's kind of the same thing. And then because I don't want to see the polyfill on top, I'm taking some pebbles, some glass beading, and I am adding that to the very top to cover the polyfill and to give it more of like a garden whimsical look. And I love it. It really did make all the difference. And again, kudos to my mom. She loves to kind of put in her 2 cents, but her 2 cents is always valuable to me. She always knows what to say. And here they are. Let's get to my final commentary and talk about my real ins and outs of this project. Okay, so I hope you guys have enjoyed the series of B-roll that I filmed showing all of the lovely step-by-step things that I did to get to the finished product that you saw of the flower bouquets. I had a good time kind of like getting it from the start to the end. I had some ups and downs that I didn't really talk about, so that's what I'm here to do. Let's do a little project recap. Let's first of all start off with what was my favorite out of all the flowers to make, because we can start on the high note. I think that's okay. This is my favorite. These roses, I think, came out so beautifully. I really love the leaf style of the rose. I think that was a part of the aesthetic for me that really popped out from the other flowers. I also really loved the painting effect with the roses, because I did the color everywhere except for the tips, so you really got this kind of realistic faded flower look, and I really loved that. I also love that I changed the sizing. The changing of the sizing between the different flower pieces definitely was inspired first by doing it with the roses, and I really loved that effect. So sometimes when you just get an idea to make a modification on your own, just run with it, because I think that the effects are always going to turn out well. Even if they don't turn out how you really want them to, at least it's a learning opportunity. So you're able to say, okay, that didn't work for me in this instance. I'm gonna make sure next time I do this that I just stick to what works. But this one I think came out the prettiest. It looks like it's from an enchanted garden, and I really love it. When you saw me add the beads to this, the beads really did add a nice little final touch, so it's not looking like there's just polyfill stuffing coming out from everywhere. And I really just love the matching of the vases to the flowers. I think this is great. So this was my favorite one to work up. This one was like an instant gratification, and the construction of the yarn wrapping and assembling everything together was the easiest. Okay, my least favorite to assemble, I should say my least favorite to assemble, because all of these I think turned out beautifully. Turned out exactly how I envisioned them to. But my least favorite in general that I wouldn't want to work up again was the tulips, because there was so much wire, because every single petal for the flower had a type of wire in it, and then when you go to like hold it together and then wrap the yarn, I mean, it was, my hands were the most tired after working with the tulips. So I don't think if I were to repeat this ever again, which I don't think I will do this project again. It was a lot of work and I loved the results, but I'm not a flower maker. That is not my crochet niche. But yeah, this one just hurt my hands the most. But I love the paint work the most on the tulips. I think it really is just absolutely stunning. If anything, I would probably go back in and pump the color up even more on the purple to teal one. I think that one in itself was just gorgeous. I like the white to teal as well. I think I probably would have faded it a little bit better if I could do it. I really was rushing. That was probably one of my least favorite parts of this project because I was doing it a little more on a timeline than I've done other things. I rushed through the part that I wanted to enjoy the most, which was the painting part. I am a multi-craftual person and I really do enjoy taking other mediums and mixing them in with the art of crochet. I think that's so fun that we can do that with our craft. I think that's unique to crochet. I don't know if you can do as many things with knit as you can with crochet, so I didn't like that I had to rush through the painting. I think that would have been more enjoyable for me and it probably would have mellowed me out from the construction and the assembling. So that's one point. For the other point that really kind of annoyed me or got me kind of like agitated halfway through the project, I'm gonna bring out the other flowers for that. Okay, so to demonstrate what I mean about tricky things that agitate me, I'm bringing out these two. Now, these are legitimately, this one is stunning. The Lily of the Valley one, in my opinion, was probably the most stunning out of all the flowers. I think the roses were beautiful for sure because roses are expected to be beautiful, but these ones were probably an unexpected beauty that I didn't think would turn out as well as they did. And the pansies, I like the pansies. I think that in hindsight, I would probably make more of them so that it looks like more of a full bouquet. I think the 3-stalk look isn't as good with the pansies, but I still loved how they turned out. But what both of these really represent is the fact that there were so many pieces to keep track of, to assemble, just to get a 3-stemmed bouquet. And I don't know if I love that. It was just agitating because I think I underestimated how many pieces went into these two particular bouquets. The roses and the tulips didn't have nearly as many of pieces as these did. I think these had like double or triple compared to the other flowers. So when I was ready to do the assembling part, I felt like I was really held back because I still had so many of these pieces to finish. And then I had so many to paint, which again exasperated the joy that I would have felt with painting because I had to spend less time painting and more time making the flower petals and all their parts. And as like, even like these little buds, I think actually one of my favorite parts to crochet though were these leaves on the pansies. I think these were really, really pretty. The little subtle scalloping, the way the designer wrote up that part of the pattern I thought was really clever. So this was another agitating part, was just all of the pieces. So if you're a crocheter that doesn't mind making a lot of pieces and putting them together, great. You will love this. If you are someone that hates stuff like sewing pieces together, like an amigurumi piece that is like, you know, you have to sew every single limb onto the animal or to whatever creature you're making, this will probably irritate you. But if you still want to make some, I would not recommend making these flowers. I would absolutely recommend making either the tulips, which are very gratifying, but again, just beware, your hands will be aching a little bit. And I would recommend the roses. In fact, you know what? Make the roses. Go get yourself some roses and have fun with that, because these will probably be the most gratifying. I would say if I could recommend them on a scale of 1 to 10, for those that want a quick, instant gratification, I would say it would be like a 4 out of 10. It's definitely not instant gratification. But also, in hindsight, if you were to want to make something like this, like say for Mother's Day, or you know, your girlfriend or your gal friend or your guy friend that likes flowers, just do it with enough time to work through each part of the process. And if you're watching this video and you're saying, oh my gosh, what a cool idea to be able to paint your own flowers. It is a great idea, and I think it's super fun and creative. I'm gonna pat myself on the back and say this project was highly creative, but the extra steps mean you need extra time and extra patience and extra work smarter, not harder. So keep that all in mind. Overall, the experience, I will give it a 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 I think is pretty high. In terms of will I ever do this again, on a scale of 1 to 10, as I put in my Made You Hook podcast, we always rate our projects. This is what this project came from. I would probably rate this project for me in terms of 1 being I will never ever again do it, and 10 being I'm going to make this on repeat. This whole project I would probably rate it as I would probably give this a 3.5 out of 10. And that is solely because I actually like weaving my ends. I like sewing pieces together with amigurumi, but the wire work I do not enjoy. I did not enjoy the wire work. I think it's because it was a lot of wire work and it wasn't just one piece of wire for the whole project. It was like several, and my hands were just truly destroyed. I'm not used to working with fine weight yarn. I am used to working with a category 4 weight or higher. I rarely work with 3. I almost never work with 2. And the only time I work with a 1 category weight yarn is when I'm knitting and I'm doing socks. And that's a whole nother project, and I love that for its own separate reasons. So overall, beautiful project. And I hope you all have been inspired by this. I think that I will probably do painting with crochet in the future. And I'm pretty sure that these pieces are going to be some pieces that I will always enjoy and have around. I actually have already had several people message me asking if they can buy the tulips. Tulips are really trending. So if you're looking to make your own, go for the tulips. They're very popular. I would love to see in the comments down below, have you guys ever made crochet flowers, stemmed flowers? How did you feel about the project? Are we on the same page? Did you find equal agitations like I did? Yeah, I would love to know how you felt about this project. I hope you have enjoyed this episode of Once Upon a Skein, where I go in and I try to add some magic to my stitches in my own way. I think that this is something that I'm always going to be doing, is I'm always going to be trying to modify and tweak things just to make them a little more special, because it's one thing to make a project as written, it's another thing to make it your project with your own sense of creativity adding to it. So I hope you all have a creative day, adding magic to your own stitches in your own way, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye! Yeah, so there's that. Anthony, yes. Mom, you're like,
oh, sorry,
about to knock over my camera.